Hey everybody, welcome in. Thank you for being here. I'm going to talk about why I believe the Bitcoin Spot ETF is already here and it's better than you think. So today's story is about why I believe MicroStrategy is better than an ETF will ever be. And we're going to dig into that right now because a lot of people out there don't have access to buy Bitcoin, but they can buy stocks. So first of all, why is MicroStrategy better than an ETF? Well, this is what I call financial jujitsu. MicroStrategy can use free cash flow to buy Bitcoin. They can issue stock to buy Bitcoin. They can issue convertible debt to buy Bitcoin, and they can borrow against their Bitcoin and buy Bitcoin. And they've done all of the above. An ETF can't do any of these things. And per Michael Saylor, he believes why MicroStrategy is better than a spot ETF. If there was a spot ETF, he'd be paying a 1% management fee to run it. And the spot ETF would not be leveraged like MicroStrategy is with debt. And with MicroStrategy, they have a software company that generates free cash flow, and they convert the cash flow into Bitcoin. And MicroStrategy is a de facto spot ETF that generates 4 to 5% tax deferred yield. Again, win, 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 win. Some would say it's a no-brainer. Now, in terms of having 2% exposure, this is what many top hedge fund managers now recommend. But to get a 2% exposure with no Bitcoin on-ramp, Michael Saylor says if you want to be 2% exposed to your Bitcoin, you'd put 2% of your portfolio into MicroStrategy. Very simple, very clever. But sometimes the best things in life are simple. Let's look at their free cash flows. MicroStrategy has free cash flow has been impressive. 2019 was 29 million, 2020 50 million, and 2021 91 million, nearly $100 million. So it's growing rapidly, and that is what they're plowing directly into Bitcoin as well as they go forward. Now let's look at some correlations between MicroStrategy and Bitcoin. And you see here from this chart, the top line is Bitcoin price, and the bottom line is the correlation coefficient with MicroStrategy. And you can see sometimes it is way off. Like September or late August, September 2021, there was a huge dip in the correlation. And these are times that you trade. But let's dig in a little bit deeper as to what we look at. This is the co-integration coefficient between MicroStrategy and Bitcoin as a pair trading model. And you can see here, every time it dips below the green line, that means MicroStrategy is very oversold and it is very cheap in relation to Bitcoin. And that's when we look at that, it was January 24th, 2022. So when I got into one of the biggest trades of my life and the biggest synthetic long of my life, because it was clearly out of a range where it didn't belong. I think MicroStrategy was trading about $320 and Bitcoin was at about 37,000. And at that price, it was just a no-brainer to put all the chips on the table. So let's talk about Michael Saylor a little bit more. He is more bullish than ever on MicroStrategy, but he is not the only one who's bullish on Bitcoin. No, Michael Saylor was bullish on Bitcoin and MicroStrategy because it's a de facto ETF. But other analysts as well, if we look at Cathie Wood, she predicts Bitcoin could exceed $1 million by 2030. And Cathie Woods is of fame for having really, really good price predictions, especially for things like Tesla. And I know last year she was a bit off, but it was a hard market for some of her stocks. And Fidelity said one Bitcoin could be worth $1 billion by 2038. I think personally that's a bit of a stretch. But if the fiat monetary system crashes, it is very, very possible. So remember, $1 billion, if everything goes to hell in a handbasket, could not be that much, may not be that much. Let's talk about the discount today. Currently, MicroStrategy is trading at an 8% discount compared to the intrinsic value of the Bitcoin that they hold. Let's zoom into a couple of numbers here in our arbitrage calculator. First of all, the Bitcoin profit for MicroStrategy is about $1.47 billion so far. They own 129,218 Bitcoin, and they have about 11.2 million shares outstanding. And per this, the intrinsic value of the business is about 1.2 billion, and that means the stock technically, theoretically, should be trading at $586. Now, if you look at what it takes to be one whole coiner, you need about 86.8 shares of MicroStrategy to own one Bitcoin. And that's cheaper than buying a Bitcoin directly today because of the discount. So more goodness. So per our estimations, if we look at some theoretical prices, if MicroStrategy goes to $1 million, the share price should be about $11,590. If it goes to 500,000, the MicroStrategy share price should be about $5,848. If Bitcoin goes to $250,000, the price should be just $3,000 per share. 200,000, 2,400, 150,000, 1,829, and 100,000, $1,255. Early 2021, MicroStrategy went above $1,200. That shows you how this thing can move. Now let's talk about, could Michael Saylor become the richest man in the world? If Bitcoin goes to $1 million, we estimate his shareholding of MicroStrategy stock is about 23.7%, which translates to about 30,600 Bitcoin. He has personal holdings of about 17,732 Bitcoin. So his total bag is about 48,356 Bitcoin. And at $1 million, that's worth nearly $50 billion. Is that enough to become the world's richest man? No. Elon Musk is over 200 right now. Let's look at some of these. We do believe if Bitcoin does go to $1 million, he would be somewhere between Dieter Schwartz and Robin Zeng, ranked number 28 and 29 richest people in the world. Now, the real question is, at what price does Bitcoin need to be at for Michael Saylor to become the richest man in the world? This is fascinating. So we estimate, based on our model, Musk net worth will grow. The Tesla stock price will grow forward as well. We believe it's going to 10x, excluding SpaceX. So the price to match that net worth of 1.536 trillion of Elon Musk, we estimate by 2030 at least, probably a lot more. The tipping point for Saylor to beat or match Elon Musk will be about a Bitcoin price of $31.766 million. Remember, Bitcoin price is going up, and so is the price of Tesla and Elon Musk's net worth as we go forward too. Let's talk about the HODL evolution. You can see here the 2021 growth of Bitcoin holdings. And of course, Michael Saylor just added another 4,167 Bitcoin, but they are continually buying with great frequency every single quarter. And they're doing every trick in the book to add more Bitcoin to their bag. Now, I also believe that MicroStrategy will own 1% of all Bitcoin if they buy 10,000 more Bitcoin, because our thesis is there will never be more than 14 million Bitcoin available in the market due to lost coins and lockups, etc., etc. Now, there are some risks to MicroStrategy. It's very important to lay them out. First of all, if we look here, you can see the stock is, not altogether perfect. So, for example, on the revenues, the revenue increase of about 2% year over year, or 4% on a constant currency basis, not growing the fastest. Product licenses increasing 9% year over year, not bad. Subscription services increased 35%, that's good. And current subscription billings increased 53% year over year. And Bitcoin impairment expenses, more of a bad thing. They got hit by $146 million. And the non-GAAP operating loss, $124.3 million. Again, that was all driven by the impairment loss. So the other issue that some people have is too much debt. Obviously, MicroStrategy's net to equity ratio is about 213%, which is considered very high. And reducing debt, there's insufficient data to determine if MicroStrategy's debt to equity ratio has reduced over the past 5 years. Obviously, the market doesn't understand. They borrow to buy Bitcoin, and that's why this ratio is quite bad. Let's talk about the impairment charges that we just saw. The impairment reflects the decline in price of Bitcoin versus the price at which the Bitcoin was acquired. And under the standard accounting rules, the value of digital assets such as cryptocurrencies must be recorded at their cost and then only adjusted if their value is impaired. They don't get to up the value when it increases. It's a one-time hit, and it's the most ridiculous accounting rule ever, and that has to change. But investors can look beyond that because that shouldn't be a long-term concern. Now, regulatory risk, obviously there was some bad press as well. January 21st, by the way, I bought Bitcoin or MicroStrategy 3 days later after this because MicroStrategy plummeted as SEC rejected their Bitcoin accounting rules. Again, that was an opportunity. Sometimes you got to run into a burning building when you want to take advantage of such situations. So with that, everybody, this is why we believe Bitcoin and MicroStrategy go hand in hand, and MicroStrategy is better than a spot ETF. So thanks, everybody. See you all soon.